The Hegemony Council didn't believe the warning. For 3 centuries, they had expanded without resistance. 87 species had joined willingly or been absorbed. The Council's doctrine was simple: strength through unity, unity through inevitability. No species had ever refused twice. Humanity refused 3 times. They are isolated. Arbiter Kell announced to the assembled fleet commanders. No allies. No significant military presence beyond their home system. They threaten what they cannot enforce. The holographic display showed Terran space, a modest sphere of 37 systems, sparse by hegemony standards. Intelligence reported defensive stations, patrol craft, research outposts. Nothing alarming. Nothing that suggested the capacity to resist a hegemony expeditionary force. The final human transmission had been clear. Cross the boundary, and there will be consequences. Admiral Thrace, commanding the Vanguard, had laughed. Consequences. From primitives who achieved FTL barely 200 years ago. The first fleet crossed the red line at 0400 standard. By 0403, they realized something was wrong. Ships began reporting navigation anomalies. Jump coordinates scattered vessels across light hours instead of light minutes. Formations fragmented. 3 cruisers emerged inside the photosphere of a star and were vaporized before their shields could compensate. Spatial distortions. Sensors reported. Artificial. Everywhere. Humanity had not built fleets. They had rewritten the physics of their territory. Phase 2. The Labyrinth. It took the Hegemony 6 days to understand what humans had done. Every system within Terran space had been seeded with gravitational wells, artificial constructs that warped space-time itself. Jump drives, which relied on predictable relativistic shortcuts, became lethal dice rolls. Ships arrived off course, scattered, vulnerable. Navigate manually, Kell ordered. Subliminal speeds. We advance as a wall. It would take months instead of days. But the Hegemony had patience. What they didn't have was awareness. Human probes watched every ship. Silent. Patient. Recording formation patterns, communication protocols, shield harmonics. The data flowed back to analysts who had spent decades studying hegemony doctrine, predicting every tactical adjustment. When the fleet reorganized and began its slow advance, the second layer activated. Drones, thousands of them, each no larger than a coffin, emerged from the gravity wells. They didn't attack. They simply matched velocity and transmitted. Broadband interference. Every frequency. Every spectrum. The Hegemony fleet went deaf and blind. Admiral Thrace tried to maintain formation through tight beam lasers, but the vastness of space made coordination impossible. Ships drifted apart. Clusters formed, broke, reformed, and the humans watched. Phase 3. The harvest, the attacks, when they came, were surgical. Human strike craft, small, fast, built for exactly this environment, emerged from hiding within asteroid fields and debris clouds. They targeted isolated ships, not to destroy, but to disable. Engines crippled. Life support damaged. Crew forced into hibernation pods. The Hegemony expected battles. They found ambushes that ended before they could respond. By the time reinforcements arrived, the attackers were gone. Thrace demanded explanations. How are they predicting our movements? The answer was simple: humans weren't predicting. They were responding. Centuries of game theory, strategic simulation, and historical study had taught them something the hegemony had forgotten. War is not about winning fights. It's about controlling which fights happen. Every hegemony response was anticipated not because humans were psychic, but because the options were finite. And humanity had prepared for all of them. Phase 4. The message: 15 days into the invasion, the hegemony had lost 63 ships. Not destroyed, captured. Crews alive, vessels intact. Taken without a single human casualty reported. Then came the broadcast. It reached every hegemony ship simultaneously. The face on screen was human. Female, middle-aged, wearing the insignia of the Terran Defense Command. "You were warned," she said. "You chose to ignore that warning. Now you're learning why." Behind her, holographic displays showed captured hegemony soldiers, alive, treated humanly, but undeniably prisoners. "We don't want war. We don't want your territory. We want to be left alone." Her voice was calm, clinical. "But if you force us to fight, understand this. We will not fight fair. We will not fight honorably. We will fight to win." The transmission ended with coordinates. A single system on the edge of Terran space. "Your people are here. You may retrieve them, or you may continue. Choose wisely." Arbiter Kell reviewed the intelligence. The coordinates matched a heavily fortified system. Dozens of defense platforms. Minefields. The works. "It's a trap," Thrace said. "Of course it is," Kell replied. "But we cannot abandon our people." They sent a rescue force. Phase 5. The lesson. The rescue fleet arrived to find the system empty. No defenses. No mines. No human presence. Just the captured crews, alive and well, orbiting a barren moon in their own disabled ships. Supplies left in abundance. Medical care provided. A blunt message painted on the hull of the flagship: "W.E. Could, A.V. Kelothem. U.E. Shi Odio." Admiral Thrace stared at the words. Something cold settling in his gut. Humanity wasn't bragging. They were teaching. The war could have been over. Every captured ship could have been destroyed. Every crew could have been executed. The hegemony expected such ruthlessness. They would have done the same. But humans didn't. They wanted the hegemony to know mercy was a choice. And choices could change. Phase 6. The realization. Kell convened the council. Fleet progress had stalled. Losses mounted, not from decisive battles, but from attrition. Ships disabled, captured, or lost to navigation failures. Morale crumbled. "We underestimated them," Kell admitted. "Then we send more ships." Council Prime declared. "Overwhelming force." "That is what they expect," Kell replied. "They have prepared for overwhelming force. Every tactical doctrine we possess has been studied, countered, neutralized." The room fell silent. "Then what do you propose?" Kell looked at the map of Terran space, a vast, deadly maze where every human advantage compounded. "Withdraw." The word hung in the air like a curse. The hegemony does not withdraw. Council Prime said coldly. "Then the hegemony will bleed for nothing," Kell replied. "They have turned their territory into a fortress we cannot breach without unacceptable losses. And they are not attacking us. They're simply denying us entry. That is defeat." "No," Kell said quietly. "That is wisdom. But wisdom came too late." Phase 7. The graveyard. The hegemony, bound by pride, sent a final armada, 800 ships, the largest expeditionary force in their history. Humanity met them at the outer edge of Terran space. This time, there were no traps, no ambushes, no silent drones, just a wall of human warships. Powered by reactors that burned hotter than stars, armed with weapons humanity had spent 2 centuries perfecting in secret. The message was delivered by the same woman from before. You were warned. You were shown mercy. You chose escalation. Her expression didn't change. Now you'll see what happens when we stop choosing mercy. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the hegemony armada was gone. Not captured. Destroyed. Humanity had held back their full strength until it was needed. Now the galaxy knew. Earth's children were not prey. They were patient, precise, and absolutely, terrifyingly resolved. Epilogue: the silence. The hegemony never crossed into Terran space again. For 5 years, an uneasy peace held. Then something unexpected happened. 3 minor species, emboldened by humanity's example, refused hegemony annexation and lived. The Hegemony Council learned what humans had known all along: empires built on phelapse, the moment someone refuses to be afraid. As for humanity, they returned to their quiet corner of the galaxy, rebuilding, researching, preparing, because they understood something the hegemony never would. Strength isn't about how loud you roar. It's about what you're willing to protect. And humans would protect their freedom with every breath they had. Chapter 1. The Whispers. The galaxy didn't celebrate humanity's victory. It whispered about it. In the trade ports of the Outer Rim, merchants exchanged rumors over synth. In the academic halls of the scholarly Concord, xenologists revised their assessments of Terran psychology. In the military academies of a dozen species, strategists studied the battle recordings with something between fear and fascination. The hegemony had been stopped, not negotiated with, not compromised with. Stopped for 300 years. The Council had been the galaxy's inevitable force. Now, for the first time, species across known space asked a dangerous question. If the humans could refuse them, could we? Hegemony Core World, Council Chamber. Council Prime stared at the casualty reports with eyes that hadn't closed in 47 hours. 800 ships. Gone. 17,000 soldiers. Dead. The political fallout was worse than the military losses. 6 member species had formally requested clarification of their membership terms. 2 had suspended tribute payments. 1, the Valathi Commonwealth, had quietly begun reinforcing their borders. This is what comes from retreat, Prime said coldly, glaring at Arbiter Kell. Wu showed weakness. Now they smell blood. Kell met the gaze without flinching. We showed weakness when we ignored humanity's warnings. We compounded it by underestimating them. And we sealed our humiliation by refusing to adapt. You advocate acceptance of defeat. I advocate learning, Kell replied. Humanity didn't win through superior numbers or advanced technology. They won through preparation, patience, and precise understanding of our doctrine. They made us predictable. Then we become unpredictable. Kell's expression darkened. That's not the lesson, Prime. Then what is? The Arbiter stood slowly, his forearms spreading in a gesture of emphasis. The lesson is that some species cannot be conquered. Not because they're too strong, but because they've calculated the cost of freedom and decided it's worth paying. Prime's claws scraped against the command table. Poetic. Useless. Then allow me to be practical, Kel said. Humanity has demonstrated capabilities we didn't anticipate. Their gravitational manipulation technology alone represents a paradigm shift in spatial warfare. Their intelligence networks penetrated our command structure. Their strategic doctrine is adaptable, ruthless, and apparently inexhaustible. He leaned forward. We have two choices. We can lick our wounds, consolidate what we have, and leave them alone. Or we can escalate. Commit resources we cannot afford to lose, fighting an enemy we don't understand, in territory they've spent 2 centuries fortifying. You fear them. I respect them. Kel corrected. There's a difference. Prime was silent for a long moment. Then, what do the humans want? According to every analysis. Exactly what they said. To be left alone. Nothing else. No expansion. No alliances. No grand ambitions. Kel pulled up a holographic display. Terran space, unchanged in size since first contact. They've had 2 centuries to expand. They haven't. Every colony they've established is within their declared borders. Every outpost, every station, every probe, all defensive. Prime studied the map, searching for deception. They're preparing for something, he concluded. Yes, Kel agreed. They're preparing for us to be stupid enough to try again. Terran space, Mars Orbital Command. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the wall of monitors, each displaying a different sector of human territory. Patrol routes, defense grids, repair schedules, the machinery of war. Winding down but not stopping. Status, she asked. Commander Williams pulled up the daily brief. Hegemony fleet activity has decreased 42% in the past month. They've pulled back to their core systems. Intelligence suggests internal political strain. Several member species are questioning the invasion's wisdom. Good. Chen's voice was level. Professional. And our losses. 16 ships damaged beyond immediate repair. 437 casualties, 41 fatalities. Relatively light, considering we just fought the largest military power in known space and won. Chen didn't say it. Didn't need to. Everyone in the command center knew what they'd accomplished and what it might cost. The council's nervous. Williams continued. They want to know if we're planning expansion, alliance building, anything that might look like follow through. Tell them no, Chen said. Same as yesterday. Same as tomorrow. Some of them think we're bluffing. That we're planning something. Chen turned to face him directly. We are planning something, Commander. We're planning to keep our people safe, maintain our borders, and continue existing without anyone's permission. That's the entirety of our grand ambition. Williams nodded, but his expression remained troubled. Admiral, the galaxy's watching now. We're not invisible anymore. No. Chen agreed quietly. We're not. She looked back at the monitors, at the constellation of human settlements scattered across their small corner of space. 37 systems. 12 billion souls. Everything they'd fought to protect. But we're also not conquerors. She continued. The hegemony made assumptions based on their own nature. They thought we'd fight like them, think like them, want what they want. And we don't? We want what we've always wanted, Commander. The right to determine our own path. That's all this was ever about. And if others ask for help, if other species want to follow our example. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. One crisis at a time. Unknown location, the Watchers. In a ship that registered on no sensors. Following trajectories that defied conventional physics. A council of a different kind observed the aftermath. The beings around the circular table didn't speak. They communicated through shared consciousness. Thoughts flowing like water between interconnected minds. The humans surprised us. One thought. Pulse conveyed. They surprised everyone. Another corrected. Including themselves. The hegemony underestimated them. Will others make the same mistake? Some will. The question is whether humanity understands what they've become. A pause in the shared consciousness. The equivalent of contemplative silence. They've proven they can defend themselves. Can they handle what comes next? Attention. Curiosity. Envy. Fear. The concepts flowed as abstract understanding rather than words. They wanted isolation. They've achieved notoriety. Should we intervene? No. Not yet. They passed the first test. They can protect themselves from predators. Now comes the second test. Which is whether they can protect themselves from admirers. Valathi Commonwealth, Border Station Epsilon. Commander Threx watched the human patrol vessel pass through the neutral zone with careful, measured movements. The ship was small, a frigate, perhaps, but it moved with purpose, sensors active, weapons clearly ready but not targeting. Professional. Cautious. Respectful of boundaries. They're nothing like the hegemony described. His second officer observed. The hegemony, Threx said dryly, described them as primitives who got lucky. And now? Threx pulled up the tactical analysis his intelligence staff had compiled. Human vessels didn't have the firepower of hegemony dreadnoughts, but they were faster, more maneuverable, and apparently crewed by individuals who thought 3 steps ahead of every engagement. Now, he said slowly, I think they're exactly what they claim to be. A species that wants to be left alone and has the capability to enforce that desire. The Council is considering diplomatic contact. Threx's sensory stalks twitched, a Valathi expression of concern. Is that wise? They stopped the hegemony without triggering a general war. They demonstrated mercy when they could have shown brutality. The Council believes they might be reasonable. The hegemony believed they were predictable. Threx countered. They were wrong. What makes us think we'll understand humans any better? His second officer had no answer. Threx watched the human ship complete its patrol route and depart. Moving back, toward the boundary of Terran space, with the same, measured precision it had shown throughout. Said a message to the Council? He said finally. Tell them if they want to make contact with humanity, they should do it carefully, honestly, and with absolute transparency. Why? Because, Threx said, his eyes still tracking the departing vessel. I suspect humans are very good at detecting lies. And I don't think they give second chances. The message arrived on all standard diplomatic frequencies simultaneously. A calculated move to ensure humanity couldn't claim they hadn't received it. Terran defense kaomemanan, Ephramem, thevhi kamanan, elebjarfiormam dpiomatian and quy, we come in peace. We wish to talk. We will approach your border at the coordinates below, unarmed, with a single diplomatic vessel. We will wait for your permission to proceed. We are not the hegemony. We hope you will give us the chance to prove that. Admiral Chen read it 3 times before calling the emergency council session. Terran Council Chamber, Geneva Station. The holographic projections of Earth's unified government flickered into existence around the circular table. 12 representatives, each from a different continental federation, each carrying the weight of their constituencies, hopes and fears. Chancellor Okonkwo spoke first. Opinions. It's a trap, Representative Zhao said immediately. The hegemony is testing us through a proxy. Intelligence says otherwise. Admiral Chen interjected, her image standing beside the main display. The Valathi Commonwealth has been quietly distancing itself from the hegemony since our conflict. Border reinforcements. Suspended tribute. They're not allies. Which doesn't make them friends. Representative Volkov countered. Chen nodded. Agreed. But it might make them interesting. Chancellor Okonkwo leaned back. Admiral, your assessment. They're scared, Chen said bluntly. None of us specifically, of what we represent. We proved the hegemony can be resisted. Now every species under council control is doing the math, wondering if they could do the same. And the Valathi think we'll help them. I think the Valathi want to know if we're a threat, an opportunity, or something else entirely. Chen pulled up a star chart. They share a border segment with us here. 73 light years of neutral zone. If they're planning independence from the hegemony, they need to know we won't become the next problem. Should we meet with them? Okonkwo asked the room. Representative Kimura spoke carefully. We wanted isolation. Now we're considering diplomacy. Isn't that contradictory? Isolation, Chen corrected, meant the right to determine our own path without external coercion. It didn't mean becoming hermits. If the Valathi approach with genuine intent, refusing them sends a message too, that we're hostile to all contact. Are we certain their intent is genuine? No, Chen admitted. But there's one way to find out. The vote was close, 7-5, with significant caveats. Humanity would meet with the Valathi Commonwealth. But on human terms. Neutral zone, beacon station Prometheus. The station had been built in 6 days. Prefabricated modules, hauled into position by cargo vessels, and assembled with the efficiency of a species that had learned to work fast under pressure. It wasn't pretty. A utilitarian structure of docking rings, sensor arrays, and conference facilities. But it was neutral ground. Human-controlled, but technically outside Terran space. A compromise. Commander Williams stood in the primary docking bay, watching the Valathi vessel approach through the observation window. It was smaller than he'd expected, roughly corvette-sized, with smooth, organic lines that suggested biological engineering, rather than mechanical construction. Scanners confirm. The sensor tech reported, no weapon signatures. No obvious power spikes. Life signs. 6 individuals, Valathi biosignatures. Any surprises? Just one, sir. They're broadcasting music. Williams blinked. Music. Yes, sir. Classical Velethi harmonic structures. According to the Xenocultural database, it's an apology. Specifically, a traditional greeting used when approaching someone you've wronged. Interesting. Let them dock. Williams ordered. But keep full security protocols active. Sir. If I may, why would they apologize? We've never fought the Velethi. Williams watched the ship slide into the docking cradle. So different from the brutal efficiency of hegemony vessels. Maybe, he said quietly. They're apologizing for not stopping the hegemony when they could have. Conference Room Alpha. Commander Threx entered the human station with careful deliberation. His sensory stalks extended in a gesture of openness. Behind him, 5 members of his delegation followed. Scholars, diplomats, a military observer. The humans waited at the far end of the room. Threx had studied the intelligence briefings extensively, but seeing humans in person was still disorienting. They looked fragile, no natural armor, no obvious weapons, bodies built for a heavier gravity than most spacefaring species preferred. Yet these were the beings who had shattered a hegemony armada. Commander Williams stepped forward. Commander Threx. Welcome to Prometheus Station. Commander Williams. Threx's translator rendered his harmonic speech into flat human standard. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. We are aware of the risks you take by allowing us close. We're aware of the risks you take by coming. Williams replied. The hegemony won't appreciate this. No. Threx agreed. They won't. The 2 commanders regarded each other for a moment, each measuring, assessing. Then Williams gestured to the table. Shall we? The conversation. They talked for 7 hours. At first, it was cautious pleasantries, clarifications, careful probing of intentions. The Velethi explained their position amid tier member of the hegemony, forced into allegiance 3 generations ago, now questioning whether that allegiance served their people. We watched what you did, Threx said. Not just the battle, though that was instructive, but everything before. The patience, the preparation, the refusal to escalate unnecessarily. You expected us to be monsters, Williams said. Not a question. We expected you to be what the hegemony claimed. Aggressive, unpredictable, dangerous. We are dangerous, Williams corrected quietly. We're just not aggressive. Threx's sensory stalks rippled agreement. Distinction matters. What do you want from us, Commander? The Velethi delegation exchanged glances, a silent consultation. Advice, Threx said finally. Not alliance, not military support, just. How did you do it? How did a single species, isolated and outnumbered, stand against the hegemony? Williams was silent for a long moment. We stopped thinking about winning, he said, and started thinking about not losing. I don't understand the difference. Winning requires defeating your enemy completely. That takes overwhelming force, which we didn't have. Williams pulled up a holographic display. The layered defenses of Terran space. Not losing just requires making victory too expensive. Making every meter of space cost more than it's worth. Turning the battlefield itself into your ally. Threx studied the display with growing comprehension. You didn't fight the hegemony's war, he said slowly. You forced them to fight yours. Exactly. And if we pursued independence, you believe we could do the same? Williams met his gaze. That's not for us to say, Commander. Every species is different. Every situation is unique. What worked for humanity might not work for you. But you'll share the principles. We'll share what we learned. Williams confirmed. With one condition. Threx tensed. Which is? Don't use it to become the next hegemony, Williams said flatly. We didn't fight to trade one empire for another. If you're seeking independence, make sure it's genuine. Not just a power grab. Threx's sensory stalks curled inward, the Valathi equivalent of deep consideration. You truly want no expansion. No influence. We want neighbors who respect boundaries, Williams said. Everything else is negotiable. The aftermath. The meeting concluded with no formal agreements. Just understanding. The Valathi would return to their space. They would consider their options. And they would remember that humanity had extended information when suspicion would have been easier. As Threx's ship departed, Williams stood at the observation window, watching it disappear into the dark. Do you think they'll try it? His second asked. I think they'll try something, Williams replied. Whether it's independence or just renegotiating their terms with the hegemony, that's up to them. And if the hegemony retaliates. Williams was quiet for a moment. Then the galaxy learns another lesson, he said. That resistance is contagious. Hegemony Core World. Intelligence Division. The report landed on Arbiter Kell's desk with the weight of inevitability. SURVLANCE Kananfa RMS. Velat Hyaman. Kaikaker. Kell read it twice, then pulled up the broader intelligence summary. The Valathi weren't alone. 3 other member species had made diplomatic inquiries to human space. None official. All deniable. But the pattern was unmistakable. Humanity wasn't building an alliance. They were building a precedent. Kell sat back, forearms folded in contemplation. Council Prime would demand action, sanctions, threats, demonstrations of force. The old playbook. But the old playbook had led to 800 ships burning in the void. What if, Kell thought, the galaxy is changing, and we're the ones refusing to adapt? It was a dangerous thought. Perhaps a necessary one. He pulled up a secure channel. One Council Prime didn't monitor, and began composing a message he'd been considering for weeks. A message to the humans. Terran space. Admiral Chen's office. The encrypted communication arrived at 0300 ship time. Chen was still awake. She rarely slept well these days. When the alert chimed, encrypted. Priority level extraordinary. Source unknown. She opened it. FRMAR Bear, KL Hajimona ANCIL. AD Myrel Sarah Khanan. Tiraran D Fenis Kamenan D Henri. Ariane FORML INQIRI. Admiral Chen, I write to you, not as representative of the Hegemony Council, but as an individual seeking to understand what I failed to understand before. You defeated us. Not through treachery or fortune, but through fundamental differences in how our species approach conflict. I would like to comprehend those differences. I propose a meeting. Unofficial. Unrecorded. Simply 2 military professionals discussing the art of war. I understand if you refuse. I understand if you suspect deception. But I assure you, I seek only knowledge. The galaxy is changing. I would prefer the hegemony change with it, rather than be destroyed by it. Respectfully, Arbiter Kell. Chen read it 3 times. Then she began to smile. Not because she trusted Kel. She didn't. Not because she thought this would solve everything. It wouldn't. But because it meant the hegemony was finally asking the right question. Not, how do we defeat humanity? But, what can we learn from them? It was a start.